Live? Yes, we are on live on Facebook now.
Yay!
Okay, we are live on Facebook now, and I'm going to share it with the group. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you are here with us for the first time, either you're viewing with us live on YouTube or Facebook, you can always go to either Facebook or YouTube, interchange, or if you are in YouTube, you can always find us on Facebook group, the Platinum Platform. The Platinum Platform. And if you are looking at us now and if you prefer to go on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/c/talkaboutlife. YouTube/c/talkaboutlife, or simply tinyurl.com/talkaboutlife. tinyurl.com/talkaboutlife. And yes, we are on live both on YouTube and Facebook. And if you are with us right now, you are with Vicky, Esther Cheng, myself, um, broadcasting to you from Singapore. It is 10:49 p.m. and it's prime time on YouTube and Facebook in Singapore. Welcome to Singapore, Colette. Colette, would you like to say hello to everyone and tell us who you are, where you're from, where you are right now?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be back for part 2 of this, continuing from last week. So I'm Colette Gallagher, and I am over here in San Diego, California, specifically Carlsbad, California, and the very south, right near Mexico. Early morning here. It's almost 8 a.m. So now it's the morning commute here. So hopefully people are listening on their way to work. And yeah, a little bit about me. I am a transformational life coach. So I've spent years, I got a degree in psychology. I am so fascinated by humans and the way our minds work and why we do what we do, why we choose the things that we choose. Why we settle for things, relationships, why we get into relationships and then they end up just going horribly south. I mean, all of these things have
Yeah,
always fascinated me ever since I was a little kid based on
yeah,
my childhood experiences. I talked a little bit about that in our last show with my mom and the abuse and the things that I've experienced. And so it always just fascinated me why, like how those things come to be. And so, yeah, I've spent 20 years learning about even more personal development, self-help, just healing myself first. Um, I was super depressed in my 20s due to a lot of things that happened, suicidal. And so I just decided, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be happy. I know I
yeah,
can be happy.
yeah.
And so I did a lot of healing, self-healing, and now that's what I help other people with, healing anxiety and getting ready for healthy relationships, creating the life of their dreams. And so it's really exciting. I love what I do. I'm a co-founder of the Inner Coaching Academy with my business partner, Vince Polito. And this is what we do. We put coaching people together in
Yeah.
groups and we deep dive into healing,
Mm.
releasing, letting go of the limiting beliefs and the core wounds and the core fears and all the things that we picked up as little children that are underneath the surface that we don't even know we're there really. We just know that we're not getting what we want. We feel terrible. We're not fulfilled. Um, and that's how it manifests. And then that's what we support people with. So
Great introduction there, Colette. You're the co-host, and I'm so honored to have you here with us. We've got a time difference about 16 hours. I'm trying to get to sleep. You're just trying to get up. So let's try to work this out. But have you been to this part of the world, Colette? And you
I
know where
have
Singapore is
only
located, right? We are at the tropical island. We are 1 degree north from the equator, between Malaysia, Indonesia, where your past president was, Barack Obama. He spent 7 years of his life here in Indonesia, right? Which is our neighbor. Have you been to any part of this place?
I have not. The farthest I've been is Thailand, but I've seen pictures of
Oh, wow.
Singapore and it looks
Oh,
amazing. So it's
Yes.
definitely on my list of places to visit.
Yes, yes, yes. You will love here, but I gotta warn you and ladies and gentlemen who are tuning in, you gotta bring a bucket of American dollars because things are expensive here. Prices are different in Singapore versus in Thailand. I would say that.
Oh yeah, Thailand's like very affordable.
Oh yeah, and you've got great service there, right? And they've got
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
beaches and wonderful hotels. Definitely the price is going to be like X number of times.
I'll keep
But
that in mind.
but you still have got the great sunshine, beautiful beach, wonderful service, a great place to have business, a great place to take as a place for you to have a foothold in order to go to the rest of Asia. If you travel 3 hours around Singapore, you can access to 800 million people around this place and with diverse culture, religion, just different kinds of lives, and that's why people take Singapore as the world exchange hub. They come here, they put their bags and their luggage, and then they travel around and then they come back. And it's particularly good for businesses. And never know. You never know. Maybe Colette, you and Vince will come on to Singapore and then have a convention here for your Inner Coach Academy, right?
That would be amazing. We would love to do an event in Singapore, all
Yeah,
over the
why
world.
not? Yeah, why not? That would be nice to if you do something here because the world is open up instead of having just digital Zoom. People are having face-to-face meetings and people are having face-to-face events, right? In schools, in convention halls, in hotels, etc. And today we're going to talk about um, last week we were going to talk about what the part two of last week. Me Too, violence against women, women's abuse. I should say abuse, not women, but just abuse. Human abuse, right? Psychological, physical, mental, financial. And also, we talked a bit about you and your childhood when you were 4 years old, kind of a experience, I should say a scar bearing experience, that you were being, I should say, put in a position that you have to be compromised, right? And you were so young. And please, ladies and gentlemen, go below and listen to her story. I think it's too painful for me to even want to talk about it. I don't know how people can relive it in the Me Too movement. Maybe they find strength. Maybe they find that people can believe in them more when people are coming up. Now, Colette, let's talk a bit about last week before we go into what happens this week because we're going to talk about Johnny Depp and Heard, but not about the trial, but about implications if someone were to come up, whether you're a celebrity or whether you're known. What's the implication of someone coming out and telling your neighbors, telling your family, telling the police, this is what happened to me? Having people to deny it, having people to kind of judge you, having people to shame you, having people to say that, hey, she's a liar, don't believe her, she's there for the money, publicity, etc. Having real victims versus against, people who try. People who try. So, Colette, would you like to talk about last week, a little bit about where we stopped last week?
Yeah, so we started talking just about the story, right? Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and the abuse that's coming out and the media and how the media is really portraying Johnny Depp as this victim and how Amber Heard is actually the abuser. And there's such short clips, and so and they, it's like discrediting Amber and she's a liar and she's just doing it for attention. And so it's really like on a grand scale what I
Yeah,
think happens to every woman or every man even,
yeah,
because both of them, I mean, they're both obviously in an abusive situation together. It's not one person's perfect and then the other one's doing everything. Like they're both like guilty of the
Yeah,
abuse against
sure.
each other. And I think it's just like on stage what people like most people would experience, just amplified. So
Yeah,
it's really interesting to talk about this and what happens when people are experiencing these things, because it's so common. I think
yeah,
it's I think it's like 1 in 3 women experience some kind of sexual abuse
yeah,
um, before college. I mean, it's just
yeah,
that
yeah,
prevalent. So if you have a
yeah.
room
You're
of
right. You're
women,
right.
like most of them will have experienced some kind of abuse. And a lot of people don't talk about emotional abuse because, at least in America, it's so prevalent, the manipulation,
Yep.
the discounting, the gaslighting. I mean, it's
Yep.
almost how people communicate in relationships. So it's
Yeah.
so common that people don't even know that it is a form of abuse.
Yeah.
Like I would
And
say most people don't even know what a healthy relationship looks like. 80% of
yes.
people.
And Colette, I would like to bring what you just said about your own personal experience, because we did talk about that quite intensely in our last talk. That's why you're the best person to be talking about this, because you have life experience. You have got your own experience when you were young, and you were denied that kind of um, how should I say, that belief or that trust when you came out to tell your mom at the age of 12 or 13. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, also collect, we are not saying who is right and who's wrong. We are not giving a judgment who either to Johnny or to Hurt. We are just saying there's two person, right? And it just happened to be Johnny and Hurt. Just happened to be like two famous person, but it can happen to anyone. It does happen to anyone. And because it was so personal to you, and because when you revealed this to your mom at that age, when you realized that, hey, yeah, I think I realized that, hey, oh my God, what happened to me was not right. I mean, such a huge thing, right? It's like the whole world just fell on you. I just want you to recap or encapsulate, recapitulate. If someone doesn't believe in you, what goes on? What happens to you?
Yeah. So for me personally, because everybody's different, I can't speak for anyone but myself. But for me personally, it was very disappointing because I had
Mm,
waited so long to even say something in the
wow.
first place. And
Mm,
so I expected my mom to care,
mm,
or at least acknowledge and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Why didn't you tell me? That's horrible. I wish that never happened. All the things that she said to me later,
oh my God.
like she didn't say.
Mm,
And so for her to just be like, oh, you're lying. That didn't happen. You would have told me before. Like the anger
mm.
at 12 years old, it was very disappointing. And it was very like, oh,
That's an
see, I shouldn't
understatement,
even.
right?
Yeah, like I shouldn't have even bothered telling her. There was no point. I was trying to protect her,
Yeah.
and
Oh
now
my
she
God.
doesn't believe
Yes.
me.
You were trying to protect her on top of being disbelieved, right? You didn't want to tell her because you didn't want to have anything to happen to her that you were lied to. So it's like build lies building on lies. There's this world that is like being painted to you, right? And um, can you imagine I mean, I can't imagine if you're having to carry this to the age of in your 20s, 25 or 26, that it was like within a fight that you actually kind of trash it out with your mom, right? That you made
Yeah,
her believe in you. How did that
yeah.
transpire?
Well, I had started meditating,
Mm,
and it was really interesting. So I was meditating, and stuff was coming up, and I just remember one day I was just so mad, and
mm.
because the meditation that I do is designed to bring up stuff. It's like subliminal, binaural beats.
Consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, it's designed to
Mm.
bring stuff up. And so I remember like I was on a bus in Costa Rica and in the back and I was listening to my meditation. I just started crying and crying and
Oh,
crying.
wow.
And then when I got back to the US, I had to talk with my mom and I was just so mad. And luckily at that point she was able to be with me
Mm.
with it. She was able to just let me yell without fighting back or I mean, because my mom's a strong personality. And so she's a fighter. And so she let me get mad and she let me have my anger and she let me just like get it all out with her. And then she was like, I'm so sorry. I feel so guilty. I was going through so much. I was being abused even more than you were. Um, you know, and I was on drugs and he kept me drugged.
Yeah.
So she kind of explained everything that was going on with her. And that gave me more compassion and why she couldn't be with it when I told her and she didn't believe me. So it really was very healing for me to have her explain like what she was going through and then also why it was too much for her. She was feeling too guilty and she
Mm.
didn't even want to talk about that time in her life. She still doesn't. She doesn't like talking about her marriage with that
Yeah.
man. So
And I've got a question. Okay, when you were young, you were bullied into the situation. You were pre-positioned, physically. So about this person, even in a situation that if it's a child, a child is being bullied in school, the classmates, you will probably will bear a lot of anger that when will I have my vengeance back? When will this person burn to hell? Now, how do you deal with this person? How did this memory how do you deal with the memory, or how do you deal with this person if the person is still alive? I would burn the person to hell.
it's interesting because I was never angry. I mean,
Mm,
I was angry with him. It's hard to
mm.
explain
You're
because
angry with yourself?
I was angry with my mom.
Oh,
I
okay.
was mad at my mom because to
Mm,
me, my mom made the choice to be with him. Like he was just some guy on the street or
mm,
whatever,
mm,
and she chose
mm,
to be with this man
mm,
and endure these things. And so to me, it was her choice. Like I was with my mom and she brought
mm,
us into this situation.
mm,
So I was more mad at my mother
mm.
for choosing this man than I was at him for being an abuser. Because it's
Yeah.
like if you see someone's violent, if you see someone's doing things that aren't good, like why not leave? I didn't understand. I was so mad at that age, and now I understand better how it happens. I've studied all this stuff again, fascinated with why these things happen.
Wow.
Um, but at the time, I didn't understand like why she would put me in that situation or herself in that situation. So I was more mad at my mom than I was with him. I'm like, it's kind of like you have a pit bull, right?
Yeah.
Or like you have some violent animal,
Yeah. You
a
didn't have it on a
tiger.
leash.
Yeah. And then you're going to be like, oh, it's a snake.
Yeah.
There's a snake
Mm,
here. Let's play with it. It's like, to
mm.
me, it's not the snake's fault,
Yeah, because
which,
she had this duty to protect you as a mother.
right.
A mother's duty is to protect a child, but that duty was broken and that trust was broken. Let's bring us back to juxtapose this case with what's happening now in the media, Johnny Depp versus her. Um, would you want your case to be broadcast to the world?
No, and that's the thing. Like, I think that's part of the reason why I never really told anyone. I told my mom, and that's pretty much it. It's like,
Does
first of all, to
anyone,
even
yeah, does
talk
anyone even
about it.
deserve being out and shamed out by the public who don't even know the real details and who are just, um, trolling hate upon hate um, to either side of the camps? Can you imagine if you had told the police and then the police went to broadcast to the world?
Yeah.
What does
And
it
it's
do
so
to the mind of a woman or a man? or
Well, what's
person?
interesting is my mom called the police numerous
Oh,
times on
she
her
did.
different
Yeah,
husbands. Yeah, when they
yeah.
got really violent and they were like gonna kill her, she would call the police. And like
Mm.
I remember being little and the police siding with the man. It seemed
Ah,
like they always sided because my mom was so loud and she was so angry. And because she was a loud one and my stepfather was quiet and
exactly.
gentle and like, oh, she's crazy. Look what I'm dealing with. This
Yes.
she just like, look at her like going off. And I'd have seen the whole thing, right? Like I'd witnessed the whole thing going down
Mm.
and then watch these police officers blame my mother for the violence. And so to me, it just made me realize that the police don't do anything really. I mean, now it's gotten better because as when in my teen years, when she called the police, they actually arrested my stepfather.
Mm.
So I think now it's changed because I was born in 79. So it was all in the early 80s that a lot of
Mm.
like that happened in the 80s. And so it was interesting to notice the difference between the 80s and then the 90s or late 90s when they actually started to kind of take it a little more serious. But even that, it's like in other towns, maybe they don't have the training, or in other countries, they don't have the police don't have that training to see through the lies when the
Mm.
men are, oh, look at her, she's crazy. I didn't touch her. There's no marks because if you choke someone, it doesn't show up right away, you know? Or if you hit someone, you don't always get the bruises right away. And so, oh, there's no marks. I didn't hit her. We were just
Look at her.
yelling.
She's just screaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
How can I be the
And
abuser when she's the one who's abusing me? Right. So the
exactly.
woman is always not believed. Right.
Right.
I mean, you look at um, I mean, the classical rape trial, it is always the woman trying to prove the man wrong, and on the question against the women, and she's always the defendant in a real rape case, outrage of modesty. Is the woman having trying to prove herself? Because the laws were made by men before, right? Um, Now let's talk about the case right now. You know, if a situation like that, Johnny Depp versus Heard, two celebrities, and it's made known because it educates us. It's an opportunity, I would say, that's good because it educates women, it educates men. You know what will go on in a trial, and I read an article a couple of days ago that says that if the man does, or I should say that the accuser does win the case, in this case, Johnny Depp does win the case, and Amber Heard is being accused of being the abusive partner who actually caused the man to lose the income, then it opens to a floodgates in the future for such situations that the defendant, or a situation like that the defendant will have to prove, etc. And it opens to floodgates whereby someone can just to prove that you are the abuser in very, very gray areas. I mean, the article does go to say that it will affect future men or women in this kind of situation. It will stop them from coming out because number one, they don't want to, if they are not celebrities, they don't want to be facing media or the public or have their lives exposed to the internet. Right? I mean, in the past, like 20 years ago, even if a trial, right? I mean, it's still kept within the walls. Nobody in the world knows. You can still largely live your life. So, for that reason, and also because the damage is 50 million against Amber Heard, it's going to open the floodgates of financial damage in cases like this if you are proven guilty. So a few things goes into play here. What's your take on a situation like if cases like that is exposed in the public. Correct?
Yeah. So I think that does stop a lot of people because to go to court, I mean, that you're taking time off of work. We kind of talked about this a little bit. It's like a lot of people don't have the resources to take someone to court and take off work for like a couple weeks or a month to bring someone to trial. So that's one thing. Um, and then if it is on trial, I mean, if you look at this case, their text messages are being displayed, their cameras, their videos that they took privately are being used as evidence, and everyone's seeing this. And
Mm,
what's interesting is it's so common, it's happening in so many households, and yet
mm,
nobody wants to talk about it. Everyone
mm,
wants to keep it like, oh, I'm the only one,
yeah,
because I think that you really feel like that. Like, I think because
mm,
I know I felt like that,
yeah,
growing up, I thought everyone else's lives were perfect. And this wasn't happening to anyone. It was just my house where people were
mm,
yelling and screaming. And it was
mm,
very embarrassing. I didn't want to tell my friends. I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to have people to my house, um, really, because I thought I was the only one. And I think um, a lot of people probably feel like that it's only in their house that this yelling and screaming is happening, or this violence, or these drugs, or whatever, especially as a little kid. And so to go speak out about it, and then it's like you already feel like this is only you and there's something wrong with you because you've somehow got yourself into this situation, because a lot of victims blame themselves. um like, oh, it is my fault because everyone else is blaming them. It's like how I was blaming my mom. Oh, this is my mom's fault for putting me in
yeah,
this situation. But the thing is
yeah,
like, it doesn't just happen. It's not like you go
yeah,
into a relationship and you think everything's gonna blow up. You
yeah,
go into a relationship because you love someone,
yeah.
right? And
I
it's
mean,
like it
you, your,
gradually
your,
over
your
time.
number one, your world is already torn apart,
Right.
right? And now you want to do it again in the public arena. Of course, with a trial like that, Johnny Depp versus her, or a trial like Bill Cosby, or a trial like Harvey Weinstein. I mean, women feel vindicated in some ways. They feel like, yes, they are heard, their voices are heard. I'm not mad. They can start the closure, etc. But even then, with people who are powerful like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and Johnny Depp, with a lot of resources they've got. The thing is that we're not gonna say who's right or wrong, but the women who comes out to the open, number one, far and few. They're not believed, and they need to be so brave because they're going to be judged by the public, right? Would you do so, Colette, if you are being called to be on trial, to be a witness, for example, one of the perpetrators that did damage your situation? Will you come out to the public and then relate the situation? Will you tell the public? And what's the
um
consequence? What goes on to your mindset? Should I do this? Should I not do this? What do you think?
I mean, that's a good question. I've never actually thought about that before. I mean, I would definitely testify against him, but at the same time I would be really nervous to see him, because
Yeah.
I mean, the way that he left my mom was, if I ever see you again, I'm going to kill you.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
so that fear of, okay, now I'm being called to trial with this guy who threatened my mom's life. I don't
Yes.
know, I would definitely be really torn, you
Yeah,
know.
and I think
Mm.
what's happening with a public trial is that facts are twisted. Facts are twisted. You can see that, like what you say, if you were to face this man again, number one, you have been a victim. To face someone who has taken the power from your life, you need a lot of courage. And is it necessary because you're healed, right? Do I want to come out? The question is, do I want to come out? Do I want to relive the history because it's a closed chapter. I've sought healing now. I want to move on with my life, and do I want to open to the world? I open to my future boyfriends that this is what happened to me because they're closed. So a lot of things do go on, and The thing about this Amber Heard situation is that when she confronted a man who supposedly had abused her, or she felt that she was being abused, I would say from a perception point from her perspective, there was one case that when Johnny Depp was walking and she was like stunned, she kind of like moved. Right? I'm not quite sure if you saw that clip in the court. In the court, and then the internet was ablaze to say that she was afraid because she did something wrong, and now he passed her. She was afraid, and I interpret it totally differently. I interpreted that she was so afraid to meet an abuser, but the internet interpreted that she did something wrong. That's why she's afraid to face up to the facts. So I would think that in this particular case, there is such a huge movement to discredit her and to change the facts against her. Like, he is the one who's charismatic, he's the star, he's a celebrity, he's hilarious. Every move he makes, is like, wow, he's meeting with these fans and paparazzi. He's still a smooth actor. But for her, she is the crazy woman. Very negative connotation, even to the point of slanderous. So we not knowing the situation, in a situation, does it not reflect? Is it not like a reflection about how your mom has gone through it before when she was talking to the police?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. There's just so much victim shaming, and I'm guilty of it too. Like I said, I blame my mom, and it's not my mom's fault that she was getting beaten. And so, I mean, it is for staying, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this man was beating her. It's his fault for beating her. But I feel like as a society, at least in America, it's like, oh, even it doesn't matter how horrible the man is, even with rape, it's like it doesn't matter like what the man does. It's the woman's fault for wearing the too short dress, or it's the woman's fault for drinking too much. It's the woman's fault for being in the situation in the club where the guy could take or going home with him. And it's like, no, it's
Mm,
the man's fault for raping her. That's it. It doesn't matter the circumstances. It doesn't matter like what she did. And I think we're really
mm,
starting to educate as a society now that, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, it's same thing with abuse. It doesn't matter what the woman said. Like, if the guy is yelling and screaming and he's still, it's his fault. It takes two
mm.
people to fight. It takes two people to argue. And so I think there is a
Yeah.
lot of victim shaming. So as someone
Victim
coming
shaming.
forward,
Yeah. And
yeah,
before the trial is even over, before the
right.
truth is being tested, a final question. Your final thoughts in what does this do to future women? We've talked about the Me Too movement. I did communicate with Rose McGowan once in her Instagram. We actually kind of chatted in the PM, private messaging. That was when she first came out. She was kind of like being brushed away because she came out as so strong. She's trying to accuse Harvey Weinstein. Um, and you've got the other more demure women. They're more like believable because they were prepositioned, in the hotel room, etc. But Rose McGowan, she's strong, she's aggressive. She seems that she's someone who can take care of herself. She will stand up. Why was she even talking about Me Too? She should not be in Me Too. No, I did talk to her in a person, private messaging briefly in Instagram. She said that no one believed her. And what do you think right now with the Me Too movement? Weinstein, he had just there were about 60 people who accused him, but only just a handful of women brought him to court, right? Because the rest of the women, they're I think they shied away from going to court. It's not a good experience, particularly in an American court. I don't know about the Singapore court because in Singapore they tried to make it kind of like anonymous so that the names are redacted, and the public trials If you apply it, if it's valid, they will not publish your names to protect the victim because there could be a lot of risk if this goes out in public. You know, a lot of revenge on the victim. If you know the perpetrator is even being sent to jail when he's released, he's going to come after you, right? So, you know, it does this set back this movement, Colette, if this is now out in the open and people are not believing in Amber Heard, and it just happens to be a celebrity, does that set back the movement?
Well, I think you brought up a really important point for victims coming forward. It's they're scared of this person, probably. Like most people are scared of their perpetrator. They're like if they've been abused, if they've been, violated, they don't want the person to know where they are, and so
They're
to go
still
to
alive.
court. Yeah. I mean, there's so many women that have gotten restraining orders or gone to the police, and men don't care. They just walk right through and kill them. I mean,
Oh
that
wow.
happens. It's very prevalent. I mean, a piece of paper, restraining order, going to the police in a lot of cases can be life-threatening because
Oh
these men
wow.
will kill them. They don't
Oh my
care.
god.
They get crazy at that point, and they're just like, I want her gone. And
Yeah.
so, as you're speaking, that's what was coming up for me. I was thinking about that. It's like, even just going to court, it's like most women would rather just hide, never see the person again, and never have to think about it and just
Yeah.
heal on their own. Because even with, I mean, Harvey Weinstein, you think about the resources, the
Yeah.
money, the lawyers, you can get the best lawyers, they can frame it however they want, and then he can probably hire someone to kill them.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
so,
god. Yes.
and make it look like an accident. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many things that could happen. So I can
Mm.
see people not wanting to stand up, like, all the women, most of the women didn't want to go to trial. It's like, who wants to see the guy that raped them or, that violated them
Yeah.
again?
Yeah. 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 Oh my God, you have brought up a very, very valid point, and coming from you, Colette, I kind of like feel the chills. You know, it's scary. If you're gonna meet the person again, because if you do meet, because in Singapore the statistic shows that out of uh, out of five uh, women, two are in the workplace. Out of five women, two are sexually harassed or have been attempted sexually or harassment, attempted sexual harassment on women. So I think that these women would still want to be kept anonymous because of the fear. No matter you say the police is going to protect you. You know, you're still gonna walk in the street alone at night in the dark. You're still gonna open your door alone. You don't want to be looking behind your shoulder and feeling the fear that am I going to, when I hear a song, am I going to feel afraid? You don't want to have that kind of life. So women just wants to close the chapter, move somewhere, and run away, and not even want to have that to relive that again to be haunted by the memories. Colette, how do you and your mom face this person, and how do you you know, um, how should I say, um, gather your lives again? How do you do that, Colette? What's your advice for people?
Well, my mom actually moved to a different city. I mean, that's what,
Oh
like, she sent
wow!
me to a whole other across the country to live with my family in New York. Like, we're from California. And then she moved to a whole different city
Oh
and
my
just
God!
disappeared, basically. Because, I mean, that's kind of what you have to do for something in some situations. And that's not easy because not everybody has those
The
resources.
resources.
Not everybody has family somewhere that they can go and stay. And so,
Yeah,
that's like I got lucky, I guess, because
yeah.
we did have the resources. And I remember like being with my dad in New York, and my stepfather called, and my dad didn't know really anything that was happening. And
Oh,
so he let me talk to him. And I remember my stepfather asking me where my mother was and being so glad that he didn't know.
oh my God!
And I said, I don't know either. And I hung up.
you know,
And
and
so,
and to tell everyone, Colette, you're not a celebrity. You're just a normal Main Street person. It does happen to every normal human being. I mean, this is
yeah.
scary. You can, oh my goosebumps.
Mhm. I mean, it's real, and
Yeah.
it's common. That's the sad thing is it's
Oh
common,
yeah.
here in America, and I'm sure in other countries. And we've done so much. I'm like, we're so grateful for the Me Too movement. And I'm so grateful, like you said, in the workplace in Singapore, there's a lot of harassment. Like everybody gets trained here in America against sexual harassment, and they get resources. I mean, it's a big deal here in
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
sexual harassment in the workplace. And so,
Yeah.
men have like this zero tolerance policy. People can get in trouble. Not to say it doesn't happen. I'm sure it still does.
Mm.
But I mean, it's easy to brush it off, right? Oh, we were flirting or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She came on to
Sure.
me. I mean, there's just a lot of victim
Yes.
blaming.
Yeah. Colette, what's your final words or final advice for women who are still very silent and haven't told anyone? I'm sure there will be, or there are right now.
That you're not alone, that even it might feel like you're the only one going through this. There's so many women and so many people, because men too, there's so many men being abused as well. You're not alone. This isn't just you in your house. This
Yeah.
is happening all over the world, abuse just like yours.
Yeah.
And you might feel stuck. There's resources.
Yeah.
Do whatever you can to get help and heal, because that's a big part. Like there's a reason you went into this relationship. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Um, it's just the circumstances that happen. You had the hope, maybe your childhood, you're not healed from childhood wounds, and so now you're taking it into your relationships. So I
Or
just
they could come to
encourage.
your inner academy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're definitely welcome and invited to come to the Inner Coaching Academy and to our programs and get coaching and heal around
Yeah.
this, work with
Yeah.
me or Vince or
Yeah.
Charlie. But reach out to people,
Yeah.
tell your friends,
Tell
tell people you
people. Tell your
trust.
girlfriend. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell your
And just
best
because
friend and not just keep
sometimes
quiet. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes we can rationalize it in our head. Oh, it's not
Mm.
that bad. It's not a big deal. Oh, he
Mm.
was just mad. Oh, he was just drunk. It was just a one-time thing. We're so good at rationalizing things to make
Mm.
it seem like it's not a big
Yeah.
deal or it's okay. But once we start telling people and hearing from our friends, like, oh, wow, that doesn't sound healthy. That doesn't sound okay. Um, then you kind of realize, okay, good. It's not just me. I'm not alone. It's
Mm.
not just me feeling like I'm the bad person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. That's powerful coming from you, Colette. Coming from your life experience and that you're developing a program to help victims. To wrap up, I can almost think like an analogy. If you are confronted with a violent person in front of you who is going to rob you, um, you don't want to fight with that person. You want to just run away if you know you are weaker than that person, the monster, right? You want to run away. You don't want to confront. You don't want to take out a knife to try to fight. You want to just like kind of like just get out. I mean, that's an analogy. You don't want to even confront the person because I don't know, it may compromise the situation, or you just want to lead a new life. You just want to move away. If that analogy fits, Colette, maybe it's just oversimplifying that situation. Colette, thank you so much for part one and part two. I can't tell you enough, and thank you enough for part one and part two of violence against women, the state of our world, to show the state of
Mm,
our world. The world is always changing. We hope that the Me Too movement has gained momentum for victims, men or women, or even children. Let them gain some strength in numbers to say that, hey, I'm not alone. There are people, and like what you say, there are support groups, right? Support groups, anonymous groups that you can reach out to support you. Colette, would you like to give everyone your website where they can reach out to you to get help if they need?
Yeah, please reach out to me. My personal website is my name, ColetteGallagher.com, COLETTE, Colette, and then Gallagher, GALLAGHER, which is on the screen. So if you're watching this live on the video, you can see my name. So it's just ColetteGallagher.com. Or you can find out about the coaching programs at innercoachingacademy.com, which is also on the screen. So inner, INNER, coaching, COACHING,
Which I will
academy.
put it in the description.
Yes, thank you. So academy.com. So those are the
Yeah.
two places you can. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram. Just search for my name, Colette Gallagher.
Wow.
I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear from you and just know what's going
Yeah.
on.
Wow. And coming from you, that's powerful. I think what you say has empowered a lot of silent victims. Definitely, there is strength in numbers and there is strength in support group. Getting it out of your mind, getting out of your being, sharing it instead of being, all bottled up. It kind of eats into your soul. So please reach out to Colette, Laurie Gallagher, where she can find. Look at the description below. It's such a powerful two episodes we had, Colette. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean, it doesn't just you don't limit yourself to America because this is a borderless world. Wherever you are, reach out to Colette, right?
Yes, yes, please.
Yes.
And then thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so much for having me. Obviously, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And the more we can talk about it, the more we can share, the more we can educate people and encourage people
Yeah.
that it's not okay. It's time to heal. It's time to grow so we don't perpetuate the abuse.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful, Colette. I hope they can come back for my new season, the morning breakfast show. We can talk more on this to reach out to more people. The conversation should start. It should not stop with Harvey Weinstein being put behind bars. It shouldn't stop there. It seems that it has stopped. It should continue. And the movement should not slow down, even with the Amber Heard situation. We do not know who's right and wrong. Let the jury have their day. Thank you so much, Colette. It's a great 1 hour review. Ladies and gentlemen, come back to State of Our World. Myself signing off from Singapore, Vicky Esther Chang and Colette Laurie Gallagher over there. All the
bye.
best. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.